Welcome to the next stage of mastering DeepSeek. In this unit, we'll focus on prompt engineering, a skill for crafting prompts, questions or instructions that guide AI responses effectively. As you remember, DeepSeek excels at two things: reasoning through complex problems step by step, and searching for comprehensive information. To get the best results from either mode, you need to know how to ask questions correctly, because the way you frame a question determines the depth and quality of DeepSeek's response. And that's what we're going to do in this lesson. Questions shape thinking. One of the main rules of prompting is that the questions you ask determine whether you get surface-level answers or deep analysis. As you might know, poorly framed questions get generic responses. In turn, a well-framed question triggers structured reasoning. As an example, take a look at these two questions. What is email marketing? Why does email marketing work better for B2B companies than social media? Which one of these questions triggers deeper reasoning from DeepSeek? The first question. The second question. The same pattern applies when you ask how instead of what. Basic. What are project management tools? Gets you a list. Deeper. How do project management tools improve team productivity? Gets you cause and effect analysis. So adding why or how to your questions transforms them from information requests into reasoning requests. Overall, this rule can be summarized as recipe ingredients matter. Like a dish, an AI response suffers if your prompt, whether a question or a command, is poorly constructed. Keep questions focused. Another key principle: ask one clear thing at a time, not multiple things in one question. Let's do a couple of exercises to understand what is meant by that rule. Overall, unfocused questions confuse DeepSeek and produce scattered answers. Therefore, if you have multiple questions, ask them separately. For example, when researching remote work tools. 1. Why is remote collaboration harder than in-person teamwork? 2. How do video conferencing tools improve remote communication? 3. What features matter most when choosing a remote work platform? Each question gets a focused answer, not a single response trying to cover everything. Practice time. Now that you've learned how to frame questions, let's solidify this knowledge through practice. You want to understand online advertising. Which question gets you deeper insight? How does targeted advertising increase conversion rates compared to general ads? How does online advertising work and what makes it effective? Which questions trigger deeper reasoning? Select all that apply. What makes a good email subject line? How does customer feedback improve product development? Why do customers prefer subscription services over one-time purchases? How do I use social media for marketing? Great job! Mastering the art of asking questions. You prepared yourself for the next challenges. But, for now, let's recap what was learned in this lesson. Making your prompts more powerful. Ready to take your prompts to the next level? You've learned to ask questions. Now let's master the skill of giving directions. This skill will enable you to give powerful instructions that get you exactly what you need from DeepSeek. Why details matter. Imagine a stranger asking for your help with finding a store. Your answer could be, "The store is right there," and point your hand in the said direction. Or you could say, "Take the first right, walk 2 blocks to the grocery store." The difference between the two answers is huge, right? The same applies to AI prompts. The more specific context you provide, the better results you'll get. The core principle of clear prompts. The foundation of any good prompt is a clear purpose. When crafting a prompt, it's essential to clarify what purpose you want the AI to do and why intent. The purpose can be conveyed by starting with a specific verb and noun. These examples demonstrate this rule. List common challenges of niche, generate a catchy headline, write a LinkedIn post, expand this email. In turn, the intent can be indicated by adding context. Prompt with only purpose included, write about marketing. Prompt with both purpose and intent. Write a LinkedIn post with marketing tips for small business owners to boost their reach. Given the above, which of the following prompts contain both purpose and intent? List 3 beginner marketing tips for small businesses to increase online engagement. Explain how social media impacts startup growth. Create a business report. Write about digital transformation. From basic to brilliant. Context can transform a simple prompt in different ways. Take a look. Basic prompt, tell me about weather trends. Better prompt, analyze weather trends in the Pacific Northwest for 2026. Notice how the second prompt includes 3 key details. What, weather trends. Where, Pacific Northwest. When, 2026. These are the other types of prompt components that add context. Therefore, when crafting your prompts, consider including these key details. Time frame, when. Location, where. Industry or field, what sector. Target audience, for whom. In this sense, which prompt would likely provide more actionable insights? Look up market growth. Tell me about education trends. Research North American markets. Research market growth in online education for working professionals in North America, 2025-2026. Let's see how this works in practice. Compare these 2 prompts. Basic, give me marketing strategies. Better, suggest social media marketing strategies for a small wellness brand targeting millennials in Canada for Q1 2026. The power of specificity. Adding context isn't just about making prompts longer, it's about making them smarter. For example, when asking about market trends. Basic, what are the market trends? Better, what are the emerging market trends for sustainable consumer goods in Europe for 2026? Focusing on plastic-free packaging? Which contextual element most significantly improves a business-related prompt? Target market and timeframe combination. Specifying office location and employee names. Specifying the CEO's favorite shade of blue is. Guidelines for adding context. Of course, not all details are equally important. Just like specifying the CEO's favorite shade of blue won't be of any help when crafting a prompt for business analysis. Focus on the information that directly impacts the answer you need. The key is to ask yourself, will this detail change the answer? Is this information relevant to my goal? Would a different context lead to different results? Avoiding mistakes. Be careful not to overload your prompts. Too many unnecessary details can confuse the AI. For instance, when asking about customer service, this would be an overwhelming prompt. Provide customer service tips for a small, family-owned, 3-employee, downtown-located, recently painted blue bookstore that sells mainly mystery novels and has a cat named Whiskers. Instead, stick to adding the most necessary details to get something like this. Suggest customer service strategies for a small, independent bookstore targeting mystery readers. See? Specific context, audience, age, location. in the prompt led to a comprehensive, actionable strategy tailored to the exact audience you're reaching. This is the power of specificity. Well done. To wrap up, remember these questions that you need to ask yourself before adding details to your prompt. What specific outcome do I want? Who is this for? When and where is this relevant? What industry-specific details matter? The key here is to understand that the goal is not to add as many details as possible, but to include the right ones. That will guide AI to your desired outcome. Layering and comparison techniques. Ready to elevate your AI skills? In this lesson, we'll explore two powerful prompting techniques that help get deeper, more comprehensive insights from DeepSeek. Let's dive in. Understanding advanced techniques. Before diving into practice, let's understand what makes these techniques advanced and why they're worth mastering. The thing is that while basic prompts are good for simple tasks, complex research or analysis needs a more sophisticated approach. Technique 1. Prompt layering. Layered prompting is like having a conversation that gets gradually deeper. Instead of asking everything at once, you break your query into connected steps. Why does this work better? Because AI, like humans, processes information more effectively when complex problems are broken down into smaller parts. This is especially true for DeepSeek's reasoning mode, which shows its step-by-step thinking. Layering your prompts matches how DeepSeek naturally processes complex queries. So, instead of asking one big question, break your research into connected steps. This helps DeepSeek focus on each aspect separately, while maintaining context. What's the main advantage of breaking down complex queries? It uses more computer power. It makes prompts longer. It requires more technical terms. It helps AI process information more effectively. Layering in action. Here's how to analyze a market opportunity using layered prompts. Layer 1. What is the current market size for mobile banking services in North America in 2026? Layer 2. Based on this market size, who are the top 3 providers and their market share? Layer 3. For these providers, what are their primary user demographics? Try it yourself with another layered prompt in the next exercise. Well done! As you can see, each layer narrows the focus, while building on previous information, leading to a specific, actionable conclusion. Otherwise, if the prompt was not layered, the answers would not have been as focused as they are now. Technique 2. Comparative analysis. Our second advanced technique is comparison prompting. This method helps uncover insights by examining differences and similarities between elements. It works particularly well with DeepSeek's search mode, which can pull information from multiple sources to build comprehensive comparisons. Why compare? It is because seeing how things relate to each other often reveals insights that studying them in isolation might miss. For example, instead of just asking about a product, compare the adoption rates of electric vehicles in urban versus rural areas in 2026, considering infrastructure availability, consumer demographics, price sensitivity. What makes comparative prompts valuable? They sound more professional. They take longer to write. They use more words. They reveal relationships and patterns between elements and combining both techniques. Now, let's see how layering and comparison work together. Layer 1. Compare market penetration of mobile payment systems in North America versus Europe in 2026. Layer 2. For both regions, analyze user demographics and preferred payment scenarios. Layer 3. Based on this data, predict growth trends for the next 2 years. This combined approach helps you build a thorough understanding while keeping each step focused and manageable. Now, what's the best way to combine layering and comparison? Skip the comparison part. Start broad with comparison, then layer deeper analysis. Use technical jargon. Add random comparisons. Good job! Now, you are ready to apply these techniques to your own projects. Yet, before doing so, let's recap the key tips from this lesson. Improving prompt quality. Have you ever noticed that AI responses can be unsatisfactory, even when the prompt seems well written? In this lesson, we'll explore common mistakes that many AI users make and how to avoid them to achieve more accurate and relevant responses. Lack of specificity and clarity. A common prompt mistake is using vague language. For example, "Tell me about marketing" is too broad and can yield irrelevant responses. Use precise language to indicate needs and clarify goals. Example, provide 3 marketing strategies for small nonprofits on social media. Such a prompt will lead DeepSeek to deliver accurate, useful responses. Insufficient background information. From previous lessons, you know that DeepSeek depends on the context you provide. Without it, responses will be too generic. For example, "How can we increase donations?" is too broad. Adding context, such as a small nonprofit organization, how can we increase donations for animal welfare, will help DeepSeek give more tailored advice. Over-reliance on AI's assumptions. As you can remember, DeepSeek, like all AI, doesn't have common sense. Don't assume it will understand you without explicit instructions. Example, instead of, "What's the best way to engage our community?" specify "parents of school-age children" for better context. State your assumptions and expectations, and you'll get more relevant insights. Neglecting prompt refinement and iteration. Effective prompting requires testing and refining. Don't miss the chance to improve responses. Experiment with different phrasings if the initial response doesn't satisfy your goals. Consider adding detail or rephrasing to improve the output. Let's imagine you want to improve your mobile app by increasing engagement. You can ask something like this: "How can I boost engagement in a mobile app?" This prompt specifies the focus of your question, but it still lacks context and needs to be refined. Otherwise, it will lead to an answer that is too broad and generic. See what we got from DeepSeek by asking this question below. Here are 5 things that generally improve the engagement rates in mobile apps. Personalize the experience, using data-driven insights to tailor content, notifications, and recommendations to individual user preferences. Simplify onboarding with intuitive tutorials, minimal steps, and clear value propositions to reduce drop-offs. Leverage gamification, like rewards, badges, or challenges, to motivate interaction and foster habit-forming behaviors. Enable in-app feedback loops, e.g., surveys, prompts, to understand user needs and show responsiveness to their input. Regularly update features and content while integrating social sharing or community elements to sustain freshness and encourage peer-driven engagement. As you see, this answer gives general pieces of advice that are not as useful as they could have been if the initial prompt included more details. Let's see how it will change if we add more details in the next exercise. Good job! Now that you're familiar with common pitfalls in prompt crafting, let's solidify your understanding. Wrapping up. That's it for today. Remember, the key is avoiding the mistakes we discussed in this lesson. Remember to focus on clarity, context, assumptions, refinement, and structured techniques.